जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी तेरा नाम जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी तेरा नाम यशोदानंदना ब्रजधरंजना यशोदानंदना यशोदानंदना ब्रजधरंजना यमुना तीरा भद्रचारी यमुना तेरा यमुना तीरा भद्रचारी यमुना तेरा जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन भजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे राम हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Jaya Gaurangi Bengalurishwara Gaurangi Bengalurishwara Gaurangi Jaya Gaurangi Bengalurishwara Gaurangi Bengalurishwara Gaurangi Jaya Jagannatha Deva Jai Subhadra Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Deva Jaya Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta De Prahlada Simha Jaya Ananta De Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta De Prahlada Simha Jaya Ananta De Jaya Gauranita Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Gauranita Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Pita Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Pita Gaura Hari Bol, Pita Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जाय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री राजदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिगोवर्धन की जय। मुझ भूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारका धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर भक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hari Om. So Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to ISKCON Seshadripuram morning Srimad Bhagavatam class in this auspicious month of Purushottam month. So let us study Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, verse number 61. Share the screen. Manasaschandrama jato buddhir giram patihi ahankaras tato rudras chittam chaityas tato abhavat. Manasaschandrama jato buddhir giram patihi ahankaras tato rudras chittam chaityas tato abhavat. Manasaschandrama jato buddhir giram pati ahankaras tato rudras chittam chaityas tato abhavat. Word by word meaning. Manasaha, from the mind. Chandramaha, the moon. Jataha, appeared. Buddhihi, intelligence. Buddhehe, from intelligence. Giram patihi, the lord of speech, Brahma. Ahankaraha, false ego. Tataha, then. Rudraha, Lord Shiva. Chittam, consciousness. Chaitya, Hare Krishna, sorry for the disturbance. That was a power failure here. Chaityaha, the deity presiding over consciousness. Tataha, then. Abhavat, appeared. Am I audible now?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Thank you. Translation. After the mind, the moon appeared. Intelligence appeared next. And after intelligence, Lord Brahma appeared. Then the false ego appeared, and then Lord Shiva. And after the appearance of Lord Shiva came consciousness and the deity presiding over consciousness. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The moon appeared after the appearance of mind. And this indicates that the moon is the presiding deity of mind. Similarly, Lord Brahma, appearing after intelligence, is the presiding deity of intelligence. And Lord Shiva, who appears after false ego, is the presiding deity of false ego. In other words, it is indicated that the moon god is in the mode of goodness, whereas Lord Brahma is in the mode of passion and Lord Shiva is in the mode of ignorance. The appearance of consciousness after the appearance of false ego indicates that from the beginning, material consciousness is under the mode of ignorance, and that one therefore has to purify himself by purifying his consciousness. This purificatory process is called Krishna consciousness. As soon as the consciousness is purified, the false ego disappears. Identification of the body with the self is called false identification or false ego. Lord Chaitanya confirms this in his Sikshakstaka. He states that the first result of chanting the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna is that dirt is cleared from the consciousness or the mirror of the mind, and then at once the blazing fire of material existence is over. The blazing fire of material existence is due to false ego. But as soon as the false ego is removed, one can understand his real identity. At that point, he is actually liberated from the clutches of Maya. As soon as one is freed from the clutches of false ego, his intelligence also becomes purified. And then his mind is always engaged upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We'll read this last line once more. At that point, he is actually liberated from the clutches of Maya. As soon as one is freed from the clutches of false ego, his intelligence also becomes purified. And then his mind is always engaged upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appears on the full moon day as Gaura Chandra, or the spotless transcendental moon. The material moon has spots on it, but on the transcendental moon, Gaura Chandra, there are no spots. In order to fix the purified mind in the service of the Supreme Lord, one has to worship the spotless moon, Gaura Chandra. Those who are materially passionate or those who want to exhibit their intelligence for material advancement in life are generally worshippers of Lord Brahma. And persons who are in the gross ignorance of identifying with the body worship Lord Shiva. Materialists like Hiranyakashipu and Ravana are worshippers of Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva. But Prahalada and other devotees in the service of Krishna consciousness worship the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead. So this is a wonderful verse. And we all have been following Srimad Bhagavatam, so far. So we understand this verse is actually coming in this third canto called Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. And the larger context is there has been a very long discussions happening between Kapila Dev and Devahuti, his mother Devahuti. So this is a very important section of Srimad Bhagavatam, because here it talks about various aspects of the journey of life or the journey of the soul, from the point of how Kardama Muni is actually a great devotee, but he's actually praying to the Lord to have a very good wife who can, support him in all respects, and how, he actually, the Lord appears and being very compassionate on him, provides him his, fulfills his desire, and as a result, then he gets the audience of his wife, and he gets the association of his wife, Devahuti, very, very renowned, very, very, sophisticated lady, very, very talented, very knowledgeable, how very a girl has to be like that. She is. And again, you see in the course of life, there are so many aspects to it. And and the Kardama Muni tries to explain to her about her devotional life, the purpose of life and all that. But still, she is not able to be somehow able to understand that perfectly, but was more interested in leading a normal life. Means she's not normal, but nonetheless, these are very subtle things, right? That is what is being addressed in this verse also, that it's not It's very simple, but at the same time, it's very complicated. So Bhagavatam explains these things in how things are, but how we win over all of that and come to that perfectional stage. That is the entire journey of the soul. The soul has been going on for billions and trillions of janmas in this kind of refinement to come to this perfect point of purification. So then she still is not able to understand the higher concepts of the trying to perfect life in terms of devotional service. So she's still more interested in she serves very nicely. If you see, there's a combination. It's very, very, it's not like, okay, she is completely materialistic and she wanted to like enjoy life. No, she serves her husband so nicely for so many hundreds of years like that, very nicely, very austere. He is actually performing a lot of tapasya. She's serving him so nicely, taking so much of difficulties, like all her beauty is lost in the process. She becomes very thin and very skinny and so many things. But at the end of all of it, when he is pleased with her, he asks, what do you want? Then she says, I want to actually have a nice material life. I want to have this married life. I want to enjoy that. That is why we married. She comes to that after going through so much austerities along with him. So the mind is actually very, very difficult to fathom. Right? It's very difficult to understand. But then, Kardama Muni understands her requirements and then actually sort of, I don't know if I should simply say that, goes through this journey of Grahastha Ashrama with her. So with whatever facilities of a little bit of a gratification allowed or whatever. And then that also goes on for many thousands of years. He takes us to the places which is like unthinkable, like people go on a honeymoon to whatever we think of in this material world, but he takes her to outside universe, outside of this particular universe, to places which are like amazing. And then he creates a kind of a floating spacecraft, and then which has all the facilities like that. So they live like that, they have children and all this. But then he that's it, there's no point in just agony, right? And then he comes down to this point of, now let me go back and continue my devotional life. So then he says, okay, I will leave everything and go. And then she says, no, what will I do? And then, okay, you will have a son who's the Lord himself, and then he will give you the enlightenment. And that is how Kapila Dev appeared. And then Kapila Dev then is actually making her understand this whole concept of what is the purpose of life. And this entire conversation is all based around that. And in this verse also, the concept, I think, of the creation, the primary creation is actually happening, where we are seeing all the elements are getting created one by one. And Prabhupada is also, and if you see even the previous verses, how the sequence of the creation is happening, they're very logical, right? When you are preparing, let's say, a dish, there's a sequence in which everything is prepared. It's not like haphazardly you do something, right? You first, whatever, if you have to switch on the stove, and then, from that you put the vessel, and then maybe whatever, depending on what item. And there's a sequence of what items you add. And then there's a science behind why we do what we do. Like this creation is also not simply, okay, it's a big bang and everything just fell in place like that. It doesn't happen like that. There is a wonderful intelligence working behind all of this, the intelligence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, that intelligence is not kind of very thought through, in the sense, very, very complicated thinking. The Lord just thinks and then everything falls. It's not like if you have to create something, we have to do so much trial and error, and we may have to do so many initial prototypes and this and that, and then run through the process, and you have difficulties, and then you correct them, you refine the process, finally you bring out a product after hundreds and thousands of years of experiment and all that. But for the Lord, who's the perfect personality in the billions and trillions of universes and beyond, in the spiritual realm, he does everything like that. He simply thinks, okay, let creation happen, and then everything happens so beautifully. So that has been, we have been seeing through that. And here in this particular verse, the discussion is about the mind is being created, and when anything is created, then immediately there has to be someone who has to be taking charge of that creation, that aspect of that, right? We also do. We plan something when we are looking at, let's say we are planning an yatra. Okay, let's go on a yatra. Then immediately you need to say, okay, who is the yatra leader, right? Who's going to be the leader of the yatra? You decide that. Okay, that is done. Okay, now let's look at the bus facilities, like, reservations. Okay, who is going to be the coordinator for the bus facility? So this is normal, right? It's a very natural process of making something happen. So in that process, the mind is created, then immediately the controller of the mind is created. And here the moon is considered to be the controller of the mind. So we all know this, right? Many times when people have a lunatism, right? When there are people who are affected by the brain, you will see during the full moon and no moon time, their mind agitation becomes very much visible for people to see. We can experience this even when people have dementia and all that. We can experience, and we can know clearly that, why are these behavioral patterns changing during a full moon or a new moon time. And the effect of the moon is very much on the brain, like that. So in the previous verses, if you all been attending all the classes, you would have also seen how various material elements are also having relation to our body. Like, for example, the ocean is indicated to be the representative of hunger and, the stomach and all that. So Prabhupada writes, if someone has a problem with their digestion, it's a problem with their stomach, then it is advisable that they actually go into the ocean and then, take bath there regularly. So that, that's the larger cosmos, which is the stomach, which is perfectly designed by the Lord. And when the small, minute atom who's got some imbalance in the stomach, when he goes into that larger representation, then there is this exchange between the larger and the smaller aspect. And in the process, the smaller one gets corrected. There is one kind of medication, not medication, one kind of a healing system, which I have experienced also. What is that? They call this Aku pressure. Aku healing it is called. So that gentleman who was, a little bit of an expert in that field. So he was telling me that, you actually, like, for example, when you look at the eye, then the eye is a representative or the larger when you look at the universe as a body, then the sun and the moon, they actually represent the eye. So if there is a problem in the eye, then if you are able to actually take that power from the sun and then connect it to this body, then the eye problem is some kind of thing. So they do some kind of, he says, my job is actually to connect the larger universe to the smaller universe, which is your body. So those kinds of things we keep seeing in some kind of traditional healing methods, and you can actually see wonderful results. Even there is another thing which I learned, like, just one phase of it, where actually you are praying to the larger, the universe, and then seeking the power in your hand so that you can actually cure that a disease in a smaller body, right? So that means that you are actually invoking the larger universal power from there to come into our whatever within our resources, channelize that into the other person's body. They don't even touch the person, like, they simply use their hand to, and you can actually feel a kind of a power transmit between our hand and the other person's, whichever part you are working on. What is that system? Reiki. So I have little tried on that aspect, and I could actually see that, there's a kind of a flow happening between our palm and then the other person's, and they feel it in that part of the area. So like this, there are so many things which are there. Okay, these are material things. I mean, the idea is not to discuss this, but to make people understand the, these subtle connections which are there. And therefore, there is a very beautiful connection, which are all, the information is all available in the Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada talks about this. He says, when I talked about this, the ocean and the stomach, or if you have some problem with your, your nervous system, then he says you should go and take bath in the rivers, because the rivers are the nervous systems of the Virata Purusha, the Lord in the form of the universal form. The rivers are all actually forming the veins of the that Virata Purusha's body. And if I am having problems with my nervous system veins, then I actually, if I take a regular bath in the rivers, then there is a kind of what do you call some kind of a synergy which happens between that larger Virata Purusha body and the small, minute, minuscule body of ours. And in the process, then this vein or the nervous system is getting actually normalized, in the process that, this is how the system works. And Prabhupada writes about it, he says in Ayurveda, this kind of principles are followed. And of course, this science, unfortunately, we have lost it because we have excessively depended on the chemical methodology used in allopathy with the modern way of finding solutions to problems. And in the process, we have, in India also, we have sort of lost, but there are still very wonderful Ayurvedic specialists, so many like this, homeopathy, many wonderful, whatever is Vedic, these things are there, and there are practitioners. So the point here is that from when the mind is created, the controller of the mind is created, who's none other than the moon. And I did give some examples of what we could actually see in real life. And then the intelligence is created. And intelligence, when you talk about it, Lord Brahma is the highest intelligent person of all the created beings in all of the universes. The first created being, who is the most intelligent also, because he actually took care of the secondary creation. First creation is done by the Lord, creating Lord Brahma himself and all the other elements which are required for his further creation. But at the end of the day, Lord Brahma is the one who actually executes on behalf of the Lord for the secondary creation. And in that sense, he is the most intelligent of all the intelligence that is ever available. And therefore, once that intelligence, that whatever that Vastu is created, then immediately the controller of the intelligence, Lord Brahma, is created. And then he says, then the false ego appeared. And then immediately the controller of the false ego, Lord Shiva, also appears. Now, why this false ego has to appear is something which we need to understand. Why should there be a false ego that has to be created? Because that is the very basic principle of this creation of this material universe, because the minute living entity who's actually very, very pure in his original state in the spiritual world, or wherever he is, or wherever, I don't know if I should call he, she, I don't know, we'll just call it the spiritual spark, which is actually the minute particle, which is an extension of the Supreme Lord, but is separated. That particular soul, because it wanted to be act in its not in its normal constitutional position. That means not to be in its normal constitutional position of being the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that it is actually thinking, no, I am actually the individual, or it at least wants to experience a situation where it feels that it is the enjoyer and it is the master, not that I am the enjoyed and I am the servant. That is our original constitutional position. But just on the opposite side of that is, I am the master and I am the enjoyer. So when he wants to do this, there is a necessity for the Lord to actually create this material universe. Otherwise, there is no need to have a material universe at all. Because of this small spiritual spark, which is actually having this desire to enjoy independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord, being very merciful, who does not interfere in the independence of that soul, because all of us have this independence, and therefore we are allowed to experience what we want to allow. Not that that is the best thing or the Lord is actually happy allowing us to do it. He has to take, in one sense, a lot of difficulty to make this happen for us. But of course, we also know nothing is difficult for him, but that is not the way we see it, right? Like, for example, some of your problems your boss can easily solve, right? Like when in office, when we are working, we may be butting our head with some issue, but if we escalate it to our senior, by his experience, by his knowledge, he or she will actually solve it in 1 minute time. So therefore, can we delegate everything to our boss and say, boss, you do this, right? That is not how it is, right? We need to put in our effort and work. And in the process, we also become more refined. The same way, like, while the Lord can solve all problems, it's a child's play for him to create the universe. For us to also trouble him is another thing, right? We should be having that mood that, I am troubling the Lord, not think, the Lord anyway can do everything like in a fraction of a second. It is not at all a strain for him. So let him do this for me. That should not be the mood. So the Lord actually takes this, I don't know if I should say austerity, but from my perspective, I can always say the Lord is taking austerity to actually fulfill my desire, right? So he has to take this effort of creating this entire universe because I want to be independent of him. And how is it possible for me to suddenly think that I am the thing? Because I know in the spiritual world, I have been there and I know that I am not the master, but I am only the enjoyed. I am not the enjoyer. Now, how can I, but I have a desire to be the enjoyer and to be the master. So that is not real, right? It is an illusion kind of a thinking. Therefore, the Lord has to create a universe where I can think I am the master and I am the enjoyer. And therefore, he creates this false ego. So this false ego is nothing but that which is not. If you, within quotes, if you were to call it that which is not, that means that which is not real, that which is imaginary. So you have to be made to believe that I am not the servant, I am actually the master. Because that is not real and that is not also possible in the spiritual world. So just like, in the movies, we want to experience so many things which we are not. Therefore, we go to the movie and then we put ourselves in the shoes of the hero or the heroine, and then we feel very happy that, all this is happening. But that is not true. We are sitting in a small chair somewhere and then we are illusioning, looking at a wall and thinking that, this is what it is. But in reality, that's only a wall or a screen, right? There's nothing behind it. So it's more of an illusion. And then we start crying, wow, and then we suddenly start laughing. Sometimes someone punches someone in the next seat because, he gets very angry looking at what is happening. He suddenly says, sorry, I didn't mean it. This kind, because we are in illusion. It may look like very, what do you call me? It's fact, right? We have tears sometimes, we laugh at things and all that. But effectively, you from someone who does not see what is there on the screen, you will say, why is this fellow sitting and looking at the wall and then laughing and crying and doing all these things? This is actually illusion. So like that, our life also, that we are trying to be what we are not. That means we are trying to be imagining things in this material world that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. But in reality, Krishna is saying, it is the three modes of material nature, which is the doer, and the living entity is just under the illusion that he is the doer. But one who is actually realized, he understands that I am not the doer. So now the Lord therefore creates this universe, and in that soul has to be given that kind of a impression that I am the enjoyer, which is the false ego, that which is not. So he understands, he is given that illusion that which is not. And therefore he immediately starts thinking, wow, I am the now enjoyer. Now I am Brahma, I am demigod, I am the controller of all this rain, I am the controller of water, I am the controller of air. Like this in different ways. And I think I am the controller of my family, I am the controller of my office, whatever, this one, this, that. Like. So now this process is going on, and and naturally, depending on the nature which I have acquired or I have desired, as a result of which I have acquired, right? I decided to be passionate, and therefore I acquire a nature of passion, and naturally I am governed by Lord Brahma. So this is going like a small, it's all mechanized, right? That means it's like a conveyor belt. It automatically takes you into one and into one, into one, into one. But in all of this process, we should not forget that I still have independence. That is why with that independence only I came here, right? If I did not have independence, the Lord would have said, hit me on the head, you rascal, you are only my servant, you be here only. There's nothing called you want to be the master. And he wouldn't have sent me here in the first place for me to think I am the enjoyer. So, but that independence continues to be there with us even today, right? Therefore, even though many people say, oh, what can I do, sir? When you go and preach to people, they say, oh, what can I do, sir? This is all the Lord's creation, what I can do. He has created these things, and I have also been given this passion to enjoy that. So these things work like naturally, like a conveyor belt. The Lord is giving me and I am taking it. So why I should not take onion garlic? Why I should not do this? Many people ask these things. Why then he created this? It is their right. It is for your body that he has created. You should take it. And then even if you understand a little bit, he will say, no, because he is pushing me. He is making me to get tempted to this. What I can do, I have no control. These kind of things are said. But that is the natural law, because you decide he is giving you the facility, and as a result, you are enjoying it. But where is your independence? We need to ask that question. Up to the point of an animal, up to the point of, being in an animal form, we have no choice. We simply have to follow the process. Like, a tiger cannot say, no, I will now become a vegetarian and eat prasadam. Right? Not possible. That is not within the scheme of things of the conveyor belt, whatever it is. You have to go through that process. Of course, there are, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, a tiger can also be given prasadam and then liberated from that state itself. But by nature, it is not possible. Where the tiger is supposed to live in the forest, he does not have the consciousness. Krishna has not given him the ability. He says, I am memory. He has not given them the memory that, I am. And he has also not given the body which can sustain on grass and stuff like that. So up to that point, it is like that. But once you come to this point of human body, the facilities are upgraded. That means the body is upgraded, the consciousness is upgraded, the memory is upgraded, and the intelligence is upgraded. So it's all various. If you see versions, right? If you buy a laptop, they say it is i3 laptop. So that the memory or the processor has X amount of capacity. So it cannot perform anything higher than that. That intelligence is restricted. There is a cap put on it. But you go take an i5, then it can do 3 more functions, right? Like that. So this bodies, the 8.4 million bodies, are all actually different machines having certain limitations and certain capabilities. An elephant has got much more power, while a human does not have much more power in a physical sense. You can only lift X number of X kilograms maybe, right? The most trained body or the best human body can do only maximum 200 kilos or whatever. But an elephant can lift like 500 easily, like that. So there are these physical limitations also, and then there are these higher mental limitations. A human has got that highest mental limitation, highest mental ability compared to all these other bodies of that 8.4 million bodies. 4 million, 4 lakh or 4 million are actually 4 lakh, 8.4 million. That means 84 lakh. Out of that, 4 lakh are actually human forms, different various human forms. So now this human form has the independence, even though it's on a conveyor belt. That is the minute knowledge that we should use to see how I can escape from this conveyor belt. So he's actually explaining this, and with this process of this intelligence, or what do you call the minute independence, we should be able to understand that I am in this false ego. So Prabhupada is explaining here. Therefore, the first important aspect to get out of this conveyor belt is to actually understand this concept of false ego and try to shed it off, that come out of this illusion that I am the enjoyer, I am the body. I am material, I am the body, I am the enjoyer, and I am the creator, whatever we are thinking in that. The first and most important thing is to actually get out of this mindset of false ego. And once that has happened, the other things are like, again, it's an automatic process. A person who comes to this understanding of self-realization, that I mentioned that verse, right, where you understand all the activities are performed by 3 modes of material nature. If we come to this understanding and start applying it in our life on a day-to-day basis, slowly but surely we will be able to come to this platform of self-realization. And then Prabhupada says, from that point on, it becomes so easy. Like, we all know this. I mean, I'm always trying to connect it to our practical life so that, we can relate these philosophies to what is, how we can adopt this philosophy to our personal life. Many people take these things as, oh, this is scripture, this is there. But then how do we relate that? Why are we reading the scripture? So that we can ourselves able to take the lessons from that and then change our consciousness. Therefore, now this example, what I was trying to say, what was I saying?
How to apply scriptures in our daily life.
Yeah, no, before that. I was coming to one particular practical application of that.
Prabhupada says something.
Sorry?
Prabhupada says something. Once we come to the point of self-realization,
so once you have come to this point of self-realization, you actually come, it starts moving in a specific direction. For that, I was looking at one example which came and I suddenly lost it. So that, okay. I got it. So basically, you see, when all of us have been given, asked, when we first come into Krishna consciousness, we are told, Prabhuji, Mataji, why don't you simply, chant 1 round of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? It's very difficult, right? You start off, you try, and then you feel nice. Okay, when you chant, yes, you come and tell, oh, I got, a little bit of a, peaceful thing, I forgot my trouble. All that people will say. But then, okay, can you now therefore continue to do this and make it to 4 rounds? They will not be able to do it. So it is not something which comes naturally, but you are able to perceive that benefits from that, and it's very clearly visible. Every small thing, one step in our spiritual direction is like that. It's difficult, but then once you achieve that, right? Like, okay, we say that's why we have the Sikshas format where you say, okay, you chant 1 round for, let's say, 1 month or 2 months. And once you come to this easily, you are able to chant that 1 round. Okay, why don't you now try to move to the 4th round? Then 4th round becomes very difficult. 1 I can do, but you said 1 you can't do. Now you are doing 1 nicely. Now you do 4. Now slowly when he comes to that 4, first initially all difficult. No, I have this work. I don't have time, sir. It's very difficult. My mother is sick. My office boss is so bad. This is there, that is there, all this. But then by slow encouragement and a little bit of an effort, slowly that person is able to do that 4 round. And then he's fixed in that. Then where did all those problems go? We don't know. But he's still doing 4 rounds. So you take this journey up to the 16 rounds. Or, sir, now you should stop taking coffee tea. Oh, coffee tea, how will I stop? It is never possible. I can't even imagine taking coffee tea. But then when he's able to develop the taste for devotional life and leave the taste for coffee, it becomes like a natural. After that, there's no going back, right? You don't feel like, oh, how is it possible? What we thought was such a ocean for us to cross, it is easily crossed. Therefore, the point here is, once you remove this false ego, then the other processes are natural. It follows so easily. That is what Prabhupada is writing there, which I read it twice, right? As soon as one is purified, and then his mind is always engaged upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this purification process is actually removing the false ego. That I am not this body, that I am a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is the journey, and which some of us, while I am saying it in so easily, and it's not so easy, but at the same time, it is possible in Kali Yuga. We will come to that last section in course of time. the example of Devahuti and Kardama Muni, it's not why I stated that in the beginning. It's not easy. It's not simply that okay, now that okay, I just saw this and now I am now realized. I am now perfect. I can now easily now go back to God. No, because there are so many impediments. There is so much conditioning which we need to do the unwinding of this condition. That is why the hearing of the scriptures from the pure devotees of the Lord, in our case, Srila Prabhupada. So the more we are able to read the transcendental literatures written by Srila Prabhupada, the more will our cleanliness happen. And Prabhupada is quoting this Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Dava Nirvaham. So here the point he is saying is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually starting with this, Prabhupada is mentioning, and that is the point of removing the impurities from the mind. Cheto Darpanam Marjanam. That means you actually cleanse the mind, and once the cleansing is happening, this burning desire, right? I have to do this, I have to do this. He says that all gets extinguished by the rain of this cleanliness that we are able to create. Immediately that rain extinguishes this forest fire of desire. And when that is gone, then everything becomes so smooth. But that desire is what is actually burning so much that we are not able to actually do that 1 round or that 4 round or that 12 round or that 16 round, or follow the regulative principles, stop this tendency for sense gratification, but develop the tendency for doing devotional service. So this process of cleansing of the mind, the meaning of that is Cheto Darpana Marjanam, is actually removing this concept of false ego. And that is the biggest journey. And if you are able to do that, then we come to this point of perfection. And then Prabhupada is talking about, and he's saying, right, Lord Chaitanya confirms this in the Sikshashtakam. He states that the first result of chanting the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna is the dirt is cleaned from the consciousness. Therefore, the process of cleaning that is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So by this process of chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is actually able to remove this false ego. And then Prabhupada goes on to talk about, and here the moon is spotless, and then he is actually taking this comparison of the spiritual moon, that is Gaurachandra, and how he is spotless. And he's bringing us to the platform of where do you start the surrender, right? So he's actually saying you need to surrender to Gaurachandra. That means there are so many forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but this form of Gaurachandra is the most merciful. So when I am in so much of difficulty, when I'm not able to remove my dirt, when I'm not able to remove my false ego, which is the best way to do it, right? All of us look for what is the most efficient, most effective, most cost, which is the cheapest. Cheapest means not in terms of the quality, but in terms of, I cannot afford to do anything bigger. So, which is the easiest way of doing it? That way, in that sense, the cheapest, which is the most simplest, and all that. And then Prabhupada is recommending, then you surrender to Gaurachandra, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the mercy incarnation, right? There are, I've heard statements like, if you cannot surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you can never surrender to anything in your going forward in any jiva, any janmas. That is, I read the strong statement. If that means I'm so hopeless, if I can't even be saved by Chaitanya, I mean, he can save me, but I am not ready to show my willingness to be saved, then you have nothing more. You have no more options at all. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the ultimate in terms of the ability to give us that. However fallen I am, he is the only person who can actually give me that lift. He can take us and save us from this. That the example is there, right? The Jagai Malai story is there. I'm not getting into the details, but that example is there to show how worst, corrupt, impure can one be. And such people, in a second, they were actually transformed. And that is the power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, if we can simply follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, serve him in whatever way, him means including the entire parampara, Srila Prabhupada, your spiritual master, the advanced devotees. if you are able to be in association, if you are able to, take up this process of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, doing the devotional service as directed by Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual masters, because they know what is the problem with me. I may not know, they know. I'm talking about our spiritual masters. And of course, Prabhupada has given the entire framework within which this needs to operate. And the spiritual masters are direct representatives of Srila Prabhupada. And they know, they are seeing us, they can understand what is our environment, how we are doing. So whatever directions they give, you do this, Prabhu. If your spiritual master says, why don't you take up this service in the temple? Why don't you do this preaching service? They know whatever our situation is. But within that, if they are giving an instruction, and if you are seriously taking that one up, if your spiritual master is saying, take up a Bhakti Vriksha program, take up a youth preaching program, do this, do that. And if you and I are able to actually focus on that one aspect and then do nicely, then immediately we will start seeing the results of our false ego getting out of our purview. And slowly but steadily, and should I say slowly or very swiftly, Krishna says, right, I am the swift deliverer of those who are actually surrendering unto me. So I should actually use the word swiftly. We will be delivered, and then we can come to this full consciousness that I am actually the part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am actually a servitor, and in the process of serving the Lord of the Purusha, the subject of the enjoyment will actually get enjoyment. So that is the basic premises that we need to understand in this verse, according to my little brain, whatever I could understand from that. So I was trying to share. Thank you all very much. I will end here. If there are any questions, if there are any comments, it will be, we can discuss. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna,
Thank you so
Prabhu.
much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Prabhu, can I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
We always say constitution position of the soul is to be servant of Krishna.
Yes.
So is there a difference between constitutional position of the soul
Hmm.
versus religion of a person? What is the true religion of a person? Are they both same or are they different?
They are both same. So the constitutional position is like, now if you say water, what is its basic property? That it is flowing, right? It's in the liquid state. So that is what is called constitutional position. That means what is its natural tendency is like actually to flow, being liquid. Like this, we as a soul are basically part and parcel of the Lord, and the part and parcel's job is simply to be connected and serve that whole, right? Like my hand, this part and parcel of me. What is the purpose? It serves my body. It is natural. So that is my position. So when you say here when we talk about what is the religion means is basically to come to this point of this constitutional position. The process by which you come to this point of be situated in your constitutional position.
Okay.
Was I clear, Mataji?
Okay, Prabhu. Also, we can say that religion is to awaken the love of God, right?
Yes. Religion is to awaken the love of God. That is right. And that love of God is your natural position, right? So that means to get you to your constitutional position, the process that you apply is called religion.
Okay. So I am a soul, I am a living entity, and soul's duty is to serve the Lord.
Yes.
That
and
is religion as well as...
that? And how do you practice that? That is what Prabhupada is in this verse is actually saying. That is called Krishna consciousness. Right? That is the religion. So it's not religion, Hinduism, Christianity. That is not what it is. Religion means to connect you to the Lord, help you to be situated in your constitutional position.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Nice question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, very wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the purport, after false ego, the conscious came. And it's a metal. So how do you understand this, Prabhu? Does it mean the conscious was not there before?
Yeah, so what it is mentioned, if you see this entire scheme of things, going forward, you will see this. So I will keep it at a short thing. Here, the consciousness is actually referring to the, the activation of that all of these material elements. Like, for example, I may be there, like, all this, you can assemble all the material ingredients. Unless the power is given inside that, it will not get up and function, right? Like, so you may have a car which is all nice, everything is perfectly like arranged, the steering wheel, everything. But unless you give the petrol and then that ignition, that it will not start moving, right? Like this. So all of these things are assembled, that the false ego has been given. Okay, now the production has started and the material things are all assembled, and he has put together the body. But now how the body gets activated, right? And that is when the soul enters, and then along with that, the Paramatma enters. See, it is mentioned, like, in every atom, the Lord is situated as Paramatma. Otherwise, it is only a dead matter. So the Lord's entry into the whole thing is the most important thing. As a result, it gets activated. Therefore, while the elements are all there, like, so the intelligence is created, the mind is created, the controller of the mind, everything is in place. But that switch or the power which comes inside that and makes it activate. You will see this whole thing in the next many verses is there. How the Virata Purusha gets activated. Right? So that means intelligence is there, and that means Brahma is there. Brahma goes inside that Virata Rupa and he sits there. But that doesn't mean that Virata Rupa immediately starts functioning. You will see many 5, 7, 8 verses behind, you will see finally the Lord will enter into that, and then the Brahma, who is the intelligence, will be able to do his function. So while the Brahma is an ingredient in that point, in that sense, but the original creator has to give that power for Brahma to work. That is the meaning here. So consciousness is basically the Lord, in that sense, the Lord activating the material beings for it to become active.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. It's clear. So one more question, can I, Prabhu? Like,
Yes.
as you told in the class, that all the things have been made by the 3 modes of nature. So how to, I couldn't get this point, Prabhu. Could you please enlighten more on this?
Okay.
How the 3 modes play a role, like,
Okay. So now, according to your desire, right, so many things are happening, right? We are thinking we are using our physical hands and legs to actually get that happen. But in reality, Krishna says, you are not the doer, I am the doer, and I do it through my energies. I have got an energy which acts in 3 different ways. Now, according to you, what you are actually doing is only one thing, Prabhu. You are desiring. That's all. You are not doing anything. You are desiring. So, because you are desiring, the Lord is actually making it happen for you. I said, right, the Lord is so very merciful. If you say, oh Krishna, I hate you, I want to be away from you, he says, okay, I don't like it, but then I will give you that option. That is how this material world is created. So like this, when you desire, the Lord fulfills it. So actually, when I desire, I want to have, $1 million of rupees or dollars, the Lord only makes it happen, and he makes it happen through these various powers through which the circumstances come in and fall in place, like for you to become a millionaire. But you and I are sitting and thinking, you see, I am very intelligent and therefore I could get this $1 million. No, because you simply desired, the Lord made all the situation happen around it that you could get $1 million. That is what is called the 3 modes. So if you are actually looking to get like some good things, if you want to do, that energy of the Lord which is making it happen for you is sattva. And if you are passionate, if you are looking to get some passionate things done, and that energy of the Lord which is facilitating you to get that, whatever you decide, is actually called rajo. And if you are in ignorance and your desires are ignorant related activities, then that energy of the Lord which is making you remain in that ignorance is that called tamo. So this is what it is. This is actually the ones which is the executing, right? Like how we do in our office or whatever. You may have a system, not that you will personally go. You will go and put on that switch and that machine will do that activity, right? But like this, that mission is that system which the Lord, like these three modes are the energy of the Lord, like that mission, which the Lord uses to do these activities. But we are thinking, I am the doer. So all of these things are happening, controlled by the three modes of nature. And you can wish, if you desire, no, I don't want to be in this rajasic mood. I don't want to be, oh my Lord, I want to be a servant of you. Then that also will also be fulfilled by the Lord only. That is most important. Therefore, we should desire with our free will, irrespective of my situation. I am in a very good situation. I am in a bad situation, whatever it is. Some people say, no, sir, I don't have intelligence. I don't have money. I cannot think philosophy and all that. No, philosophy is not how it will take you to Godhead. It is your desire which will take you to Godhead. So I need to desire, oh Krishna, I am in this pathetic situation. Please help me. Then you can become the most realized person. But someone may recite Bhagavatam from the last word to first word. That is not a guarantee for taking us back to Godhead. It is my sincere desire to serve the Lord. Then that person will become even more elevated than someone who's very literate, who has got very shastric knowledge. That is all just a means to the end. But the actual point is, I should have the desire to surrender, the desire to go back to Godhead, desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in that sense, it is actually the desire which is making things happen. And the Lord's instruments to make that happen for you and me is the three modes of nature. Is that okay?
Yeah, very clear, Prabhuji. Thank you. So it's desire that which binds us and we also liberate us, Prabhuji. Isn't it?
Yes, it is the desire which actually binds you to this material world. But it is the same desire which can actually relieve you also and take you back to God.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can I ask one question connected to this, Prabhu? So desire is coming from mind or intelligence, Prabhuji?
The desire is basically that of the soul.
Desire is
the mind and all that is actually this part of the body. Mm-hmm. They are the instruments by which we are trying to, be caught within this material world. But the desire is something which is originally from the soul.
Okay.
But with that desire only I came to this material world, right? See, in the spiritual world, I didn't have this mind, intelligence, body, which is material. But in the spiritual world, I had a desire to be independent of Krishna. And therefore, that brought me here. And put me inside a package called mind, intelligence, false ego, then the senses, everything, and then I am running around. But the desire is what is originally brought us here, and the desire will what originally take us back.
Okay. So the independent nature of the soul,
yes,
is making the soul to think or desire for something.
Perfect.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Sanjay.
Actually, you are very intelligent. The way you actually rephrase what I am saying is very nice.
That means our soul, out of experience, it gets, what I should say, forget the desire, is it? Detachment.
Can you repeat?
No. As you said, the desire comes through the soul. So, whatever the desire we get, the disappointment in the materialistic life, I am talking, ultimately, it is helping the soul to reach the Supreme. Am I right?
Okay, so the disappointments we get here, in one sense may be favorable, but that doesn't mean so the thing is, the disappointments and the happiness that we are getting in this material world are making us look at what else we can do, right? See, for example, if I get an experience of pain in my body, right? Then how I think about that pain, someone may say, oh, this is very difficult place. Why I am having this body? And therefore this pain is coming. I want to be without body. Then he can become spiritual. But the other man may think, oh, this situation is very bad. This body is a pain and therefore I can't survive like this. If he's in a body consciousness only, he will say, therefore I will commit suicide. Many people, right, when they are in cancer and all that severe pain is there, they are in hospital going through. So the same pain is actually making him jump from the, I'm saying the newspaper article right here. The guy jumped off from the hospital because he wanted to end his life because he can't bear that pain. So it's the same pain. For one person, it made him actually realize that, see, this pain is coming because I have a body, therefore I should get out of the body in a positive way. The other fellow thinks of getting out of the body in a negative way. So he commits suicide, while the first person thinks, I will take up devotional service and I will make a permanent solution for this getting out of the body, not a temporary one by jumping from the fourth floor or whatever. So it's so the desire is basically your discrete independence method. By that independence, you should be able to see how I should think. And sometimes we don't know, right, how we should think. That is why the Lord is coming and telling us, I will give you the scriptures which will give you the knowledge. And then with that knowledge, you everything. Now you decide what you want to do. Whether you want to follow my words or you want to be independent and do something which is not what I told you to do. Choice is yours. That is all it is. So independence can help you to go back, or it may help you to remain here. Or the desire can help you to go back, or it can help you to remain here. But the choice is ours because you are independent. Does it answer, Mataji?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. But is it possible to forget the pain and forget our body and think of the Supreme?
Very much, very much. And that is knowledge, right? If you are able to understand this body is not me, it is temporary. And because I have decided something like that, I have got it. Therefore, I have to simply tolerate and then go forward, right? So I'm getting a lot of money. I should think, therefore, what should I do? Should I'm very happy now, let me enjoy life. I also know I'm graying. I also know I'm getting these new bodily changes which are happening. So I don't think I'm going to be eternally enjoying. Therefore, shall I start thinking towards that direction of self-realization? So whether you're happy or whether you're unhappy in material situation, the independence should be able to make us think. The knowledge that we are getting through Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita from the Acharyas should make us think away from this material way of looking at the whole thing. So when I'm in pain also, or when I'm in enjoying, I should see, okay, this is all fine, or this is whatever it is, that is what it is. But how do I get out of this mess? Or how do I get out of this thing permanently? This happiness is not going to be permanent. This pain is also not going to be permanent. But how do I make my actual position of being happy permanently? That is the journey of spiritual life. And possible. You can see many people actually are able to become very sober. Initially, they would be, when they get a problem, they will be crying all over. They will be jumping like anything and all. But as they practice devotional life, they became very composed. They take it in a very correct spirit. They move on in life. That ability comes. So you can tolerate pain if you are able to take up devotional life nicely.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Many Prabhupada disciples have proved that. Some of them have got, towards the end of the life, some, many of them had cancer. So, cancer is very painful, right? But you will see them. They are live available for people to see. They are not in some room breathing in pain, and then when they come out, put up a nice plastic smile. No. You can see them, and they are actually in that blissful state in spite of the pain in the body. That is practically possible. That all depends on our practice of devotional life. Because we are not the body. I mean,
But
I did not realize.
but they are undergoing the treatment, right? Or without the treatment, they are into
No,
spiritual.
so that is another thing. See, the question of treatment or not treatment, we should not try to simply ignore all the things, right? You will get treated because you are in a body. But that doesn't mean you need to remain that, I am the body and therefore, I will live in that moment of pain. No. See, you have a body, right? You have to eat. You can't say, no, I am spiritual, therefore I will not eat. Right? The same way, if I have a pain, I am in a body, I am getting treated. That doesn't mean I will immediately recognize myself completely with the body to and keep cribbing about my pain. These are two different things. We address it, but we are not overwhelmed by the situation. That is what I'm trying to say. And when you are coming to that highest platform, you can, forget that pain very easily. Even though the treatment has to happen because you have to use your body to serve the Lord, right? That's important. So they take the treatment with the mood of, I should get this right, this mission right, so that I can run along furthermore time to serve my spiritual master. I can actually use it better. Because at the end of the day, even highly realized person have to leave their body, right? Because this body is mechanical. It has to be exhausted one day or the other. So they want to say how I will use this body for serving the Lord. So if it is an impediment that the disease is trying to put some blocks in the way, I will get it cured. But I am not this body and the pain is not mine. That understanding they have. I mean, one good example is Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, right? So he's in hospital every other day. But if you see, he's also on the Zoom and on the Facebook every other day, 4 times more than the time he's in pain. So the body says that body is there and I have to use this body as long as it exists. And therefore I need to do maintenance. So I am going to the hospital, but I am not the body. I know that fully. That is what he says. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Very clearly explained. Thank you.
Prabhupada also, right? He had this heart attack. They put him in hospital. They said, we need to do this intervention, that intervention. Prabhupada said, I don't care for all these things. Take me out of this hospital. And he said, you all pray for me. And if Krishna is willing, then I will be okay. And Krishna immediately made that mechanical body okay for him to move on further and do some more service for him. But then Prabhupada also took medications. No, he chose a lot of Ayurvedic medicines and all that. Because body is there, we may have to use it for Krishna service. And we cannot neglect, body, I am not body, I will not take care. If you are running 200-degree, 100-degree fever, you cannot focus on giving a class very nicely. But Prabhupada has given. Prabhupada is like out of the body kind of a person. There was one, I will keep on going for a time, but then I will finish it in one half a minute. So he was having severe temperature. He couldn't even lift his body. He couldn't do even very basic things like that. And then one governor was supposed to meet him. And then he said, no, Prabhupada, you are so sick, you can't meet him. But Prabhupada said, no, that guy coming over here will give a lot of benefits. So let him come, I will meet him. And the minute the person came, Prabhupada suddenly transformed. He looked like an ordinary person. He was like talking to him like, and devotees know before he came how Prabhupada was. And as soon as the person left, Prabhupada immediately fell off, he's exhausted. So you can see that transformation because they are able to, but at the end of the day, that is still a human body. That's still a human body, right? So Prabhupada also has to leave that body, in that sense. But so we cannot say, okay, therefore I am realized, now I will not die at all. So we need to understand this fine balance between these two. But clear understanding is, I am not the body. I am in this body to serve the Lord. Therefore, I have to maintain this car, right? If you are not maintaining, you can't do the service. You can't go to a different place and preach. Therefore, you maintain the car. Not that, I have a wonderful Benz. I have a car because I go to travel. That is the mood. So I have a body and I will keep it, maintain it well so that I can serve the Lord. That is the mood of realized persons. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So we will end here. I'm sorry we have taken a long time.
It was so much enjoyable, Prabhuji, discussion. Thank you.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam.
Thank you for the wonderful session.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you are the host.
Oh, okay. I didn't.